Some crimes that happen in the shadows of anger, power, or maybe simply hatred raise major questions about our society. We are certain that the ones we will tell you today will surprise you and make you question if these criminals deserve to be treated with the respect our Constitution provides them. Let's get started. Let's start with Eric Penland. He is a 37-year-old male sentenced in July 2019 for a period of 11 years on charges of endangering children. Well, by words, the crime seems small. However, wait until you get this story's details. Penland's criminal story starts in 2017 when he was found abusing his 3-month-old son. It was found that Penland shook his child to an extent that he went blind and deaf. That's not it. On further analysis, it was found that the incident left other major complications in the child's body. The boy was going through brain bleeding and hemorrhages in his eye. Combining all these medical complications made the child unresponsive, though still alive deep within. The child showed severe shivering, or as the doctor testified, a shaking type mechanism. The young boy was bleeding through the left side of his brain, and the doctor clarified that such levels of damage were irreversible. He could never recover from such damage. The damages were a result of chronic trauma. It was found that some amount of blood clotted between the two halves of the brain. This damage to the brain is what makes the child unresponsive to any external stimuli. It is heartbreaking to find how a child's biological parent may subject them to the damage that Eric Jr. had to go through. The father's actions forced the child to go through 3 major surgeries and over 2.5 months of treatment while feeding through the tube, not only during the treatment but for the rest of his life, with no chance of being able to walk. Penland never agreed to these accusations and denied the allegations of him harming his own child. He stated that he would never harm any of his children. The last statements he made in court were that of denial and swearing at the judge, claiming he had not done anything wrong. Next up, we have Jordan Fuss, who back in 2014 caused a crash while being intoxicated. The crash led to the death of a 6-year-old boy named Santiago Geraldo. Though claims were being made because the accused was remorseful for what had happened, the arguments were not given much heed. It was claimed that the accused was so remorseful that he even considered taking his own life. While giving his testimony, Jordan apologized to the child's parents, though the case was very strong against him. The case in hand was more than an intentional act, a mistake under the influence which the accused deeply regrets. However, the loss of a child made the parents lose all their hope in their life ahead. The accused asked for mercy in an attempt to get a reduced sentence, though they knew that he would go to jail without any doubts. If you look at the clip, you will notice that Jordan was traveling at a very high speed while under the influence of marijuana. He was 19 years old and traveling at 19 miles per hour just before midnight struck on the 3rd of October. The incident took place on Sterling Road in his 2004 Infiniti. According to the reports, he had an alcohol level of 0.21% in his blood in a state where the legal limit is just 0.08%. The court imprisoned him for 14 years in jail. He was full of tears and depicted his love to his mother, father, brother, and girlfriend, all present in the court while the verdict was being pronounced. While he begged for forgiveness, the child's father stated, "May God forgive you for what you did because I can't." The next duo we will introduce to you were 2 females aged 25 each who received a life sentence from a Charleston judge. The charges against them rose out of the death of a 3-year-old. The duo had a daycare where the child was assigned to ensure her safety. Little did the parents know that this would be the worst mistake they could ever commit. A young girl named Serenity Richardson passed away while she was in the daycare under the custody of Erica Mae Butts and Shanita Latrice Cunningham. Among other accusations, it was alleged by the parents that the duo repeatedly beat Serenity with a belt and a coat hanger. The intensity of these repeated hits was so high that the outlines of those strikes were clearly visible on the child's body. As a matter of fact, the child's whole body, except for the soles of her feet, had marks of brutality on them. The reason that the duo gave for the beatings is that Serenity had a potty accident. They did not intend to end the child's life. Serenity's life ended out of this brutality on the 3rd of November 2009. When they found that Serenity had turned unresponsive, they tried reviving her by putting bleach under her nose and putting ice on her. When all these methods were found useless, Butts called the girl's parents, who further called 911. By the time the medics arrived, the child had died already, and it had been quite a while since she died. When the duo found that they would spend their lives in jail, they fainted and hyperventilated, creating quite chaos inside the courtroom. The court officials handled the situation well and carried them out of the courtroom. Erica's mother reacted as soon as the verdict was delivered and was clearly not ready to accept the mistakes committed by her daughter. The judge stated that each offender would be punished and sentenced to the State Department of Corrections for a period of time as stipulated further. The court rightly pointed up the severity of the issue at hand and stated that the intensity here is a major concern for the court. That's 2 more threats to society sentenced for correction. Next up, we have Kayla Mendoza. Kayla was accused of driving under the influence of alcohol and killing 2 innocents in the process. It happened on the 16th of November 2013. She was just 20 years old. She went with her manager and co-workers while she was working at T-Mobile in the United States. She went on to a local bar named Tijuana Taxi Company, where she downed 2 fulls of margaritas. The story wouldn't have reached the court if it had ended there. Unfortunately for her, she got into a Hyundai Sonata after a couple of hours and drove towards the Sawgrass Expressway in the opposite direction at 80 miles per hour. What was bound to happen happened just minutes later as she collided with a 2012 Toyota Camry being driven by Caitlin Ferrante and Marissa Catronio, aged 21 years, after 1:45 a.m. the next day, on the 17th of November 2013. Both of them died. Catronio on the spot and Ferrante passed away in the hospital after a few days. Mendoza also suffered injuries. She broke both legs and used a wheelchair for more than a year to commute. As we expected, she was charged with slaughter while under the influence of alcohol by the count of 2. She was also charged for having an unlawful alcohol level in her blood. Furthermore, the fact that she caused 2 demises and did not have a vehicle license added another major extension in her punishment period. There was no plea left for Kayla. Even the one related to alibi was impossible, as she had just posted on Twitter hours before the crash that she was too drunk to care. She claims to be a pothead princess on her social media and explicitly indicates her addiction to marijuana and alcohol. She pled guilty in 2015 for all she had done and was sentenced to 24 years in prison. The parents of those who died went through a lot and stated that no sentencing can ever bring back the daughter they lost. Now, finally, we have Keandra Cook, who was accused of meeting men through an app to lure them and later carjacking them along with her boyfriend Kendrick Bass with the intention of robbing them. In one such attempt, she met a man from South Daytona who was 27 years old named Perry Needham. The deal was to buy cannabis from him and later sleep with him. Perry had a 17-year-old kid with him. She got into the car and claimed she had to get the money once, for which the car was stopped. After a while, Kendrick got into the car wearing a mask and a gun in his hand. After getting into the car, as Nida resisted, Bass pulled the trigger and shot the 17-year-old in his stomach. The child was saved in the hospital. However, the incident deeply moved the judge. The judge stated that Cook was the main part of the incident and was sentenced to 20 years in prison. With that, we have come to the end of this video. For more such videos, all you need to do is hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Share with your friends and help us spread the word. We will meet you with the next one.